hello to all my BC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome to another rendition of NXT Losos, the most sexiest NXT review out there on the internet. I am one of your co-hosts, Mikey, and joining me this week is Papa Oso himself, Will. So it is going to be a tag team affair tonight. Unfortunately, we are missing our third co-host, Macho Rodriguez, as he had to take care of some personal matters. But he sends his regards and he cannot wait to come back next week to talk about NXT. So before we dive into this week's episode, just a little bit of the things that always happen before our review. If you like what you see here on your screen, then you should follow us for more shenanigans, like out of context clips that will not come and bite the host in the butt later down the line. Do you love to see the report cards? Do you want to see what we're up to behind the scenes? Then make sure to follow us all over the socials. We are on Facebook, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. We have a YouTube, we have a Twitch, we have a semi-Patreon. We have a website with merchandise. We have a lot going on. We also would love for you to pop into the chat every once in a while and, communicate with us, but be respectful because you will be banned if not. So without further ado, we're just going to jump straight in because overall, this was a pretty straightforward NXT. I was like, you know what? No notes in terms of like craziness. There are some questionable things, and we're going to talk about said questionable things. I feel like I didn't waste 2 hours of my time.
No, not at all.
So without further ado, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and jump into it because NXT kicks off with a main roster championship match. That is right, because we opened NXT up this week for the WWE Women's United States Championship, in which we have our challenger and repping the silver and black era of NXT in Sol Ruka, taking on the champion, and Miss Chelsea is so over in NXT. It is wild. So before we even talk about the match itself, Chelsea Green is so over, which I love. That is just people loving Chelsea. They said the whole Pledge of Allegiance in the middle of that. They were saying Chelsea for president, which I would not be upset about. But of course, no United States champion is without the secret service, as they are called, with Alba Fire and Piper Niven at the toe. This was a really fun match. This was a fun way to open up the show. I think it showcased Chelsea very well. We had Zarya doing her best to defend the secret surface of Piper and Alba, who definitely helped a little bit during the match. And I don't care what nobody says, I do like Chelsea's finisher of the Unprettier, which was a great thing. But Sol Ruka got some moves in. She tried a couple of soul snatchers. She basically rode Chelsea like a surfboard at one point, which was fun to watch. But unfortunately, our Women's United States champion was able to retain. So Chelsea Green is your winner and is still your WWE Women's United States champion. Papa Oso, we kicked things off with a championship match. What did you think?
I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I thought, Sol Ruka, she was fun to watch because, all the flips and cartwheels and, all the stuff that she's so good at, it was just like, this is crazy. What is this happening right now? I was like, what is going on in this match right now? Because I'm not really sure, though I enjoyed it.
Preach. I mean, did I think Sol was going to win? No, not really. But I still enjoyed it. I thought this was a very good opener. And hey, you know what? If Chelsea wants to come defend her title more on NXT from time to time, I'm never going to say no. I think it's a great time. So after we get this match, we cut backstage and we have this little interaction right here where we have a Trick Williams who is getting ready for his underground match with Eddie Thorpe as the main event of this week's episode. And Javon comes in and he, understands where Trick is coming from now. Had his feud with Ethan, All Ego Ethan Page, and then he got jumped by, at this point of the episode, the unnamed group of 4 individuals. We'll talk about their name because I think we need to workshop it a little bit, but we'll talk about that when we get there. But basically, Trick goes off on Javon, and unjustifiably so, if I might add, but that's just me. He basically says that we're not the same, Javon. I'm trying to get back to Obafemi and get back what's mine, which is the NXT championship. Aren't a star, you will never be a star. like, we ate the same, and walks off. I'm like, damn, Trick, you didn't have to go off on Javon like that. And then to add insult to injury, the paintiest beard walks into the room with Lexus King telling
The hell was that?
that was wild. So we'll talk about Lexus in a little bit and, our weekly tangent of the beard. But Lexus reiterates what Trick said to Javon.
Every time I see his face now, I just get angry. And not because of his character or because, but because of the stupidity of the choices that he's making. It's so dumb.
I'm just like, it just gets worse and worse every time we see Lexus with his painted beard. It gets weird. But Javon, we'll talk about you a little bit later as we get to our main event. But after this just feels right with the universe in this picture right here. Yes.
It does.
Okay, Stephanie, I love what you began this promo with. It's just like, English is not my first language, but wrestling has always been mine that everyone can understand. I'm like, yes, go off, girl.
Yep.
So Stephanie talks about how it's been her dream to come to WWE and to be the best woman in NXT. And it means a lot to her to be double champion. And she is going to be a fighting champion. And it doesn't matter who or when or where. She wants to fight everyone and anybody for these titles. Which then first prompts Jordan Grace to come out. So I was like, yes, ma'am. Jordan Grace versus Stephanie Vaquera is going to be great. Jordan rocking those 6-inch wedges, though. I was like, damn, that's a fashion statement and a half. Jordan doesn't get far into her promo because she is knocked upside the head and knocked down by Miss Jada Parker. So Jada gets in the ring. She congratulates Stephanie, but she also reminds everybody it's stand and deliver season, and she gonna take what's hers. So she is going to be challenging Stephanie for a match. I'm like, yes, Jada Parker, it seems that we're pushing Jada to the top of the women's division right now in NXT to be involved in these title pictures. And we'll talk about it later in the evening, but it's going to be Stephanie versus Jada for the NXT Women's Championship next week on NXT. I'm so happy for Jada. I'm so excited to see this match. And Stephanie out here already be like, all right, I'm going to fight all of y'all. Bring it. So, Will, what did you think of Stephanie's promo and, the potential challengers we might see come in and out of these title pictures?
I loved the promo. I thought, I was like, oh yeah. She just exudes what a champion should be. She reminds me a lot of what Jordan Grace was. Jordan Grace was that, and sort of that, what is I'm looking for? It's a guilty pleasure. She's a guilty pleasure. Because you're thinking, oh, she's like super dark, but oh my God, she's amazing. And so I'm totally on, and I love her. I've loved her since I was introduced to her over at CMLL. And I think her and Jada is gonna be amazing.
I think this is a big opportunity for Jada to show what she's got and how much she's learned since being in NXT. And my biggest hope is that this match will allow Jada to continue to rise closer and closer to potentially being a champion in the women's division of NXT. The crowd is behind her. She gives off such a badass aura, but so does Stephanie. And I think this is going to be a really great match. So good job, ladies, all around. You were fantastic. I cannot say the same thing for this tag team match. So let's set this up really quickly. So after that promo with Jada and Stephanie and Jordan, we cut backstage. Hank and Tank are looking to make some waves in the tag team division. And then we come to find out it would be Hank and Tank versus Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura. As soon as I saw Briggs and Inamura, I was like, Hank and Tank, I love y'all. You ain't going to win this match.
Nope.
I did laugh, though, during this match because I love watching the cameraman try to keep up with the crazy antics of Hank and Tank. They are just like cracked out on energy drinks.
Yep.
It is so funny to watch. But Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura do pick up the victory here. This was an okay tag team match. I wasn't expecting a lot from it. I'm hoping that we can figure out what is going to happen with the tag team division because we just had our tag champs from NXT face off against the TNA tag champs last week at Roadblock. And I don't know what's the plan for them. Like something tells me we're getting Briggs and Inamura versus Frax at stand and deliver for some odd reason. And I kind of don't like that. I don't like that pairing. I'm going to be real. But then I look at the men's tag team division. I'm like, well, who else do we have?
Yeah, exactly. Nobody.
I was like, Chase U is no longer a thing. It's just Hank and Tank. We don't know where Out the Mud went right now. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We don't, Fraxium is our tag champs, but we don't have any other men's tag teams right now. So this was it. It is what it was, a filler match. Will it lead to something? So we got a couple weeks to stand and deliver. We'll probably figure it out as we go along. Moving on. Can I just say, I really actually like the family in this match. I just did not like how we got to the finish, and their opponents are such a weird eclectic mix of people is the nicest way of putting it. But we have the Redacted versus the Angelo family. Now I have to say it. We have the Colleen versus the D'Angelo family. So this match was set up because 2 weeks ago, prior to Roadblock, well, technically this was a little bit more before that. In the steel cage match between Tony and Ridge, Izzy Dame turned on everybody. And then we got the reveal of this group with his, Sean Spears, Brooks Jensen, Izzy Dame, and then this dude right here. I keep forgetting his name. So
I know, me too.
But he's creator wrestler number 5 for me. And so I like this match only from the D'Angelo family side. I thought everyone did. Mr. Lawyer Man was red hot in this match. I was like, sir, you've been holding out on us. I was like, he was just bouncing off ropes. He was shoulder checking people. I'm like, okay, I need this man. Like, yo, I was like, okay, this is great. And you know what? The family definitely had the momentum. Stax was doing his thing. Crucifino dropping kids left and right. Miss Rizzo also getting into the action, like knocking out Izzy Dame for a good chunk of this match. I was like, yo, D'Angelo family's killing it. In the back of my mind, I was like, something's going to go down. And sure enough, towards the tail end of this match, where we have Tony D'Angelo, who's in the back because he's listened to Stax and the family, is staying back there for his safety. That was the wrong move because at the time of the episode, our unnamed group attacked and power bombed or attempted a shield power bomb Tony D'Angelo through some stuff, which unfortunately caused enough of the distraction for the Colleen to pick up the victory. And I was like, and there it goes. So up until the ending, I actually really liked this match, maybe only because of the D'Angelo family actually putting in the work. Like, they were fantastic. Colleen, not so much. Yeah. Will, any additional thoughts?
But I have a huge problem with their name. I spent way too much time the other day going through some stuff to where, I went down a white pride rabbit hole. Yeah, that's where it took me. I think it's a bad choice because, and I'm not, by no means am I getting political by any means, but with the environment that our country is in right now, I think it's a bad idea. Just saying. And and it doesn't help when the entire team is all white people and one of them's very close to being a skinhead. I mean, seriously. I mean, look at them, get a full picture of all of them. I mean, it literally, when it flashed on the screen, I felt gross. I was like, oh man, the hell is this world coming to? But other than that, I enjoyed the match. But the whole time I was watching the match, it was just that. It was, yeah.
And then there's certain interaction with another NXT superstar also is giving me some trepidation, which we'll talk about later. But again, the Colleen win over the D'Angelo family. We'll talk about y'all later. So we got an impromptu match next with Carmen Petrovic versus JC Jane. I thought we were getting some there with Ashanti the Adonis helping Carmen help her win her matches in not so nice means. So Ashanti passes Carmen a chair. Carmen doesn't want to use the chair because she wants to win clean, but unfortunately it is enough of a distraction which allows JCJ to kind of basically lariat her and knock her onto the ground, and JCJ wins with the rest of not toxic attraction, with fatal influence. It's like it's basically the same name, just a different coat of paint, because JC has been in all these factions and I have not seen her go on her own. I thought we were getting somewhere when she joined Chase U, but obviously that was not a thing. So yeah, that's it. Prior to this, though, Fallon's getting her NXT North American Women's Championship rematch next week as well. So Stephanie is pulling double duty. She has 2 championship matches next week, which is great. More Stephanie on my television is never a bad thing. I will say, this was fine. Like, it was a filler match. That is all I have to say. Moving on. Okay. Well, when I messaged you earlier while I was watching NXT, I was just like, yo, I think Ridge Holland might be doing something for me. I don't know anymore. But we do get our next match, which is Ricky Saint versus Ridge Holland. This got some time. And I was like, yo, I think this is the best as Ridge has looked since being back over here in NXT. I think he did great in this match. I will say, though, earlier in the show, his little conversation with Eddie, I'm like, I'm here for a Ridge and Eddie team up if that's what we
You're
gonna
not
get.
kidding. And that's when I was like, OMG. A Ridge Thorpe, duo. I was like, hell, oh yeah. I mean, I enjoyed this match. I liked it. I'm sorry, all you folks out there. I am not a Ricky Saints fan still. He hasn't won me over. He hasn't proved himself. Not that he has to prove himself to me, but as a fan, I just can't get behind him yet. So I'm literally like, you got to give me something more than whatever this is, because this is not going to win me over. He's not doing anything for me.
That is very fair. Ricky picks up the victory here, and he has an interesting interaction with the calling backstage. I'm just like, no, don't let this be Ricky's first. I don't want to see a bunch of white people beat up on a person of color, especially in the political climate that we're in. And of course, Ricky's going to have the one-liners, like telling the calling, I just won my match. I'm out here to prove everything. And then telling Izzy Dane that, I measure up on the right aspects of things. And I was like, and there we go. I was like, all right, we're in for this ride. I'm worried about Ricky if his first full feud is with the calling. I hope that is not the case. But if it is, I am hoping that Ricky is not just getting beat up every single week. That is my issue. It's the same problem I have on main roster right now with a certain, European, Austrian champion beating up on the Samoan Juicy Uzi Jey Uso every single week on Monday Night Raw. It's making me I'm still excited for the match, but I'm not loving the story building that we are getting into WrestleMania. But check that review out on Sunday if you want to hear our full thoughts. So we move on. Speaking of horrible faction names, Shawn Michaels, come here real quick. We got to have a quick talk. The Dark State is the best we could come up with for these gentlemen. I hate the name.
Yep, I don't care about these guys. I'm over them. I was over them like 2 weeks ago. It's the same shit, different day. And we see it later on too. And I'm like, your shtick isn't working for me anymore.
And then, of course, Macho throws a wrench in our group chat telling us, Trick Williams is the leader of this group. I'm like, oh God, it would make sense. I hate it though.
Me too, because these guys, I'm like, what? I don't know.
So basically, this was a promo to tell us that nobody is safe. I'm like Maxine Waters, I want to reclaim my time.
Yeah. It's like, oh no.
Stop.
Not this trope.
Be like Meg from Hercules, what shall I ever do?
Exactly. I also
hate the fact that this is Dark State, because I was just like, it's kind of on the nose, because you have 3 individuals who are persons of color. And then you have Mr. Billy Bob Joe over here in the tank top, like as your token white guy. It gives me the energy of that one meme in TikTok we like, because you're African American plus Mark. I was like, what the hell is this? I hate this group.
I have to say,
go for it.
I don't. The meaning of dark state is it's the quantum state of a molecule. Blah, 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 that can't absorb, I think, photons or something. Anyway, doesn't matter. None of these guys look that smart. So I'm thinking their faction name's a little too deep for them. And I'm just like...
Which unfortunately leads into Macho's, theory that somebody is leading this group, which I hate. It would make sense. We have a name. I hate it. So we get into our main event, if we can even call it that. Because this was like a 3-minute match, which was wild to me. Well, this was wild. But we get our NXT Underground match, Eddie Thorpe versus Trick Williams. Look, we said this during Roadblock last week. I'm not expecting like a 10-15-minute match in an underground style for these two. But 3 minutes? I was like, I feel cheated.
Because it gets fucked up, excuse my expression, by something else. Every time So I'm like, what are they doing? I don't understand. And then, then all hell breaks loose. And it was just like, really? This is what this was for? I thought this was going to be a legitimate match. Like, I thought it was going to be legitimate, like him and Dijak's match was, which was awesome, by the way. And this was a disappointment. I was disappointed in the fact that Eddie once again got screwed. And 2, Trick won.
He did not need to win this match.
No, it doesn't do anything for him. I mean, it's like, what are you getting out of it?
But like you said, so here's the thing, and people might come for me in the comments, but honestly, I don't really care.
Let them come.
I don't. But I personally do not like matches that are just utilized to set up like things afterwards or things to come in the world of professional wrestling. Now, does every match need to have some super high stakes in it? No, it does not. But at the same time, though, this was being built up to be like, this is the culmination because these two have been going back and forth, screwing each other out of opportunities and wins over the last 2 to 3 months. And this is the culmination of everything. And then it just ended like a wet fart. It was so ridiculous. And all to set up, Oba coming down, and poor Eddie is just on the ground for the remainder of the show as Oba and Trick fight. We have the Dark State come through the audience. They didn't even get into the ring to start fighting people. Javon is out there trying to, warn Trick, but not having it. And Javon is tired of being ignored. So he literally takes out Oba Femi, which that was a clean cutter from Javon onto Oba. Oba sold that very well. But I will, so I don't know if it might be a triple threat. I think we're getting a triple threat for the NXT Championship at Stand and Deliver. Trick and Javon and Oba, which I'm not mad at. I just hated that we had to use Eddie Thorpe and NXT Underground just to set up this moment. It was kind of whack.
Yep. I was so pissed at him. And now all I want is for Oba Femi to lose. That's it. I want Javon to kick both of their asses. I'm so mad. I was at the end of this match. That's why you didn't hear from me. I was so pissed.
My goodness. But yeah. So that has been our NXT review show for this week. Overall, I still liked a lot of the stuff, but I have questions. And hopefully we will get answers as, count them. I thought we had more time, but we literally only have like 4 weeks until Stand and Deliver. So we have 4 NXT shows before Stand and Deliver starting next week. So that is crazy to me. Speaking of Stand and Deliver, more information will be coming out in the next week or 2. But all the BC WrestlePod hosts have been chilling. They've been, relaxing. And then I blew up their world this morning because I sent out the sign-up sheet for Hell Week for WrestleMania weekend. So it is about to be crazy. There is WWE, NXT, GCW, TNA stuff going on. And everyone has 2 weeks. I gave the host 2 weeks to sign up and figure out where we're putting everybody. It is a large undertaking, but we are 4 weeks away from the second annual WrestleMania Hell Week here at BC WrestlePod. And it is bigger and crazier than ever because now we also have friends and other podcasting friends who are going to be invading our channels. We're going to be invading theirs. I have people actually coming to visit me where I live to spend time and do this too. It is wild. But hopefully the full trio will be back next week to cover another exciting episode of NXT as all roads now lead to Stand and Deliver, NXT's largest and biggest pay-per-view in my eyes of the calendar year. But we got to get up on out of here. So from myself and Will, you can catch us tomorrow reviewing because we are heading up north to review some Canadian wrestling as me and Will cover Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling's Mayhem, which, spoiler alert, the women killed it in the show, but there was a lot of good stuff and a surprise appearance at the end of night 2 that we'll talk about as well. And then, of course, you could catch Will and our new co-host over on TNA this Friday as we review TNA Sacrifice, which, I'm going to be for real, was actually a really good paper. But I have questions, though. And a certain women's wrestler, we're going to have to bring out the cultural appropriation speech again. We'll talk about it on Friday. But from myself, Will, In Spirit, Macho, and the rest of the BC Wrestle Pod family, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will see you tomorrow for Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling's Mayhem review. But until then, sayonara, adios, and
thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's gonna happen next time? Well, you're gonna have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.